department heads. I think that at some point we're going to get back to that, but it's kind of nice just to be, we're doing a lot of stuff over our social media. We're pushing stuff out on Facebook and out in our newsletter, but I think it's just nice to kind of see people's faces and get to talk to them one-on-one, even though it's not in person. And Zoom is a great tool for that. So the first thing I'm going to go right into is the COVID update. A couple things that I want to share with everybody is one is currently today, as of this afternoon, our positivity rate is 3.7%. So what does that mean? That means that if we continue on this pace for about another week and a half to 2 weeks, we will move into what is now, we are currently in the purple category, and that will allow us to move into the red category. And so the red category is where things start to allows restaurants, allows the businesses to start open back up. I want to say that, you know, first off with COVID, listen, I'm a believer that it's real. I think that we have to take our own self-responsibility, make sure that we're doing all the things we need to do and washing our hands, covering our mouths when we sneeze, you know, all those things to help keep the spread, because I feel like I'm a relatively healthy person, and God only knows if and God forbid that I do get infected with it, that, you know, I think I got a reasonable chance of making it through. But I do have a 70-plus-year-old mother at home that basically checks every box for the people that are most vulnerable for this disease. And so we all got to be cautious about it. And so one of the things that I'll share with you in talking with the public health director today, as a matter of fact, just a couple hours ago, I spoke with her, is that I know that there's been some questions on when are the schools going to open up. We actually, in purple, in the color, at the level we're at right now, it's purple, then red, then orange, then yellow. We're in purple. The governor gave the okay, the administration gave the okay that some like a hybrid type of learning, that kindergarten through 6th grade can go back to school. I spoke with a school board member from Dos Palace just a little while ago, and she told me that on Monday, kindergarten through 6th grade is going back in what they're going to call a hybrid. What that exactly looks like, I don't know everybody's detailed plans, but I think it's a step in the right direction. Also, as part of that variance, if you will, students that have needs that are where, like, you know, some like our special needs students that need one-on-one attention, those are able to go back. When we get to the red, that's when K through 12 gets to go back. So back to one of the things that I want to talk about is testing. You know, the current, what keeps those numbers down is testing. And I would encourage everybody to get tested. We have a testing facility in Las Vegas on Mondays and Tuesdays. I will, if you guys follow me on Facebook or you get my newsletters, we put out what the link, if you will, to be able to sign up for that. Those tests, you can usually make a test the day before and get a time for the next day. And that testing those are state funded tests, the testing facilities. So they are at no cost. The testing is free. And it is something that if you get your test, you getting in there, and they can expand that. They can expand that testing capability. They're there now from, I believe it's 8 until noon. But if the demand gets greater, they have the ability to expand that. So, and then I just kind of wanted, it's COVID related. Yes, go ahead.
We have a couple of questions. It has to do with moving red for Merced County. How will the audience be notified when you are changing into red in Merced County?
Listen, if you're following me on either social media or through my website, we are pushing that information out, but it's like the county public health pushes out all this information. A good tool is if you go to Merced County's website, right at the top of the homepage, there's a red little button that says COVID-19. If you push on that button, You can sign up for email alerts, and it gives you, you get the daily dashboard of kind of where we're going with everything. So that would be a good resource there. But I'm pretty sure that if we do
We lost
on
your
any kind
audio.
of social
There you go.
what's that?
Never mind, we lost your audio for a second, but it's
Sorry.
back.
I'm pretty sure that you will find out on social media, people will know that we're in the red category. Did you have another question, Judy?
No.
No. Okay. And then just something I wanted to share with everybody was it is our ready to open Merced County. These are COVID dollars that the county allocated. It was $3.1 million. It was $600,000 per district, and it closed last Sunday. And I can tell you that in District 5 that we had 200, excuse me, that's the total for the whole county was 270 applications with 1,565 infecting or helping 1,565 employees. In our district, we had 31 applications that had 205 employees for a total of $410,000. And so you said there, well, I said there was 600,000 allocated. What we didn't use helped out other districts in the county, because at the end of the day, we're still all one county. Go ahead, Judy.
So Walt wants to know, it's a follow-up on how everyone will be notified. Have had employees who have gotten a test, no response if negative for up to 10 days. Is there any better way to get this done for employees?
Okay, so repeat the question one more time.
He's had employees who have gotten the test, no response if negative for up to 10 days. Is there any better way to get this done for employees?
I was under the impression that because of the increased testing supplies, that they're actually getting those tests back a lot sooner. 10 days. If I could, Walt, if I could maybe catch up with you offline and get more specifics on it, I could ask a specific question to public health who tracks all that and get you a better answer, because I don't have a better answer for you right now.
Another question is, I've heard concerns that some people are under the impression that more people who get tested, the higher our percentage will be. Can you explain how the percentage works in regards to testing and what I can tell people who bring this up? This was from Justin.
Okay, so so I know throughout this we've talked about that the more you test, the more you're going to find. There's a lot of asymptomatic people out there. But what the state has done, and I can't sit here and tell you that I know all the metrics and how they figure this out, but what the state has said is to not penalize places that actually do more testing. They actually kind of they give you bonus points, for lack of a better word. When you talk about that daily percentage, that 3.7% I brought up earlier, that 3.7%, it's a factored number. And when you test, the more you test, it actually brings that number down a little bit for you. So to not have folks say, well, I'm not going to get tested, because the more people that test, it shows up the more positive. The state has actually worked with local public health officers and public health directors to come up with a formula that doesn't penalize you for testing. It actually helps you and helps your numbers so that you can get into that next category.
Excellent, thank you. Another question from Michael. What day would the change take place, meaning moving from purple to red? Is there a particular day of the week that we should be paying attention to?
I don't believe that it is. I just learned this today. They basically take this snapshot of one day, and hopefully it's on a day that your numbers are down, and then they compare that to that snapshot 1 week later, and then it has to be a snapshot 1 week after that. So it's not on a particular day. And I think if you're a restaurant right now and you're closed to indoor dining, and we can get to red, and you can go back to at least something indoor dining at 25% capacity or whatever that number is, I think that whether it was on a Monday, a Friday, a Wednesday, a Saturday, whatever it is, that they'd be willing to and want to. Now, specifically when it comes to the schools, I know that if it happened in the middle of the week, it's probably something that they're not going to implement until the following Monday, because there's obviously some logistics that are involved in trying to let folks know that, hey, school's going to start Monday. And I could even see a scenario in my mind that where that would take them possibly even like 10 days. Okay.
Justin is asking, is there a website or information that he can find that explains the bonus concept?
I don't know the answer to that, but Justin, if I can follow back up with you offline and ask that specifically to public health, if that matrix is understood at the, like, if it's coming from the state's website, I'm not really sure. But I had it explained to us at our last COVID update at our meeting September the 15th, and so and that came right out of the mouth of our head epidemiologist and our public health director. So I'm taking their words for it, and I'm sure that it's somewhere it can be followed up.
Excellent. And then Patricia McCoy is asking, if we move into the red tier that allows inside dining, would that also mean a venue could have a wedding reception inside, even with the modifications of limiting attendance?
I don't know a specific answer to that, but what I can tell you is the mass gatherings, which is 10 or more people, doesn't get the okay to happen until we get down to the yellow level. So I don't think that it allows for it, but I will have to follow back up with that. And what I'm going to do is I know that Darcy and Judy are keeping track of all this. So when I say I'll follow back up with your specific answers to specific questions offline, we will get back to you folks with those answers. Because I don't claim to know all the answers, but as your supervisor, my job is to hopefully know the right people to be able to get those answers to you.
And that's all the questions for now, Scott. You can continue to move on.
Okay, so I kind of touched on all my little points here on COVID. So I'm gonna move to parks, and I want to introduce Patty Darcetti, and she's our I don't know your exact title, Patty. I call her. She's the gal that helps us with grants in the county. And so I'm going to turn it over to you, and I think we're going to share a screen, and Patty's going to share a few slides, and then we're going to talk a little bit about something that I think is pretty exciting that's happening in Dos Palace specifically.
It's open. Okay. You should be able to share, Patty.
Okay.
So at the bottom of the screen, there should be a green share screen button. You roll down.
Okay. I'm sorry. I didn't know I was doing this.
I can do it for you if you want me to.
Would you?
Yep, not a problem. Give me just 1 second to get everything out of the way and get on over there. Have it ready for you. Can everybody see the screen?
There it is. Yeah.
So just tell us when you need to advance the slide, Patty.
Okay. Well, we're excited to tell you about a grant that we're applying for O'Banion Park. It's a county park just outside the city limits of Dos Palace. And this grant is up to $8.5 million. It can only be used to improve parks, or it can be used to improve a community center within a park. And that's important because the community center in O'Banion Park, known as Dull Hale Hall, is the site of the senior lunch program, nonprofit fundraisers, and other community gatherings. It was built in 1966, and it badly needs new air conditioning, hot water and restrooms, and lots of other issues. We've put surveys available online, and we've gotten more than 200 responses. We've been getting community feedback over how the residents would like to see these grant funds used. It is very competitive. In the last round last year, the state received 478 of these grant applications, and the state awarded 62. So if we have that same ratio this year, we would have about a 1 in 10 chance of being funded. You can move to the next slide, please. Thank you. The grant can be used to improve soccer and baseball fields at O'Banion Park. The top vote getter was to install 2 new picnic shelters in the park and to replace the current picnic tables with graffiti-resistant picnic tables. And we got lots of votes also to install an outdoor stage and a splash pad. We're excited about that outdoor stage because that's something that could be really helpful during the Cotton Festival in Dos Palace. You can go to the next slide. This is a floor plan of Del Hale Hall in the park. We're looking at renovating it and expanding it, making it larger. And then we're looking at moving the library into Del Hale Hall. You know, when Supervisor Silveira first mentioned this to me, he said, you know, both facilities are in need of repairs. There's ADA accessibility issues. They both have air conditioning problems. Wouldn't it be more effective to move both operations into one building? And we think it could be really exciting to have the library in the park in Dos Palace. So that's the plan. We hope to know by July 2021 whether we got this grant. The grant deadline is December 14th. And if we're awarded, then we've got to complete all the construction by March 2025. So we wanted to keep this presentation really brief, open it up to you in case you have any questions of me. And thanks to Supervisor Silveira for including me on this call.
Thank you, Patty. Does anybody have, just right off the top, right out of the gate here, does anybody have any questions specifically about the Dos Palace? And I know this is a district-wide event, but I thought it was a good opportunity to kind of share with my constituents that I know not all of you are from Dos Palace. I know some folks on here from Las Vegas and the Salmonella area, but just kind of share you some of the things that we're trying to do. So Judy, did you see any specific questions?
No questions on this yet. Oh, wait, hold on, one just came in. Scott, when you came to Salmonella for a town meeting, we brought up the need for a park in Salmonella. You indicated that efforts would be made to provide a park. To date, I am not aware of any progress in this regards. Currently, there are no parks in Salmonella. Any updates? And this was from Michael Fairbanks.
Michael, thank you for the question. And you guys see my list. You can't read it, but Salmonella is the very next one that I was going to talk about. So I specifically, let me finish up with the Dos Palace one. These are Prop 68 grants. They are very competitive, as Patty said. And you know, I'm in it to win it. And that's part of the reason why I wanted Patty to come into my virtual town hall here and to talk about it, because part of the process is having community meetings, getting community input into what we want to do. And really to me, it's from our, you know, being fiscally responsible to the taxpayers. You know, we look at 2 issues that we had. The Dale Hill Hall that is old and aging and in need of work. The library is not functional anymore for a whole host of reasons. One being that it's super tiny. It's not been very accepting of technology. We do have some technology in the Dos Palace branch of the library, but it's just not, it's an old building that was never designed to have internet and computers and all those things. And so how do you basically kill 2 birds with 1 stone? And this is kind of, I in my crazy mind, I've just put a little thought out there, and you have grant writers like Patty, who it all kind of comes together. And, you know, and why I'm encouraging people to, when we put out this stuff about our surveys, you know, that's what makes these things more competitive. That's what, and so we want everybody to participate in it, because we have this big grand idea of what we want to do out there in Dos Palace. And we're still going to do something no matter what, but you know, it is relying on getting this grant. It's quite a large amount of money. So go ahead, Judy.
So Walt says, does this include all construction to be done by 2025?
Yes. I'm sorry, go ahead. Patty said yes. Yeah, no, that's the kind of the deadline is if you get awarded the grant funding, which in my opinion, 2025 is too late. If we get awarded the grant, it's all systems go. I saw Brian on the line. Brian is he's the deputy director for parks in Merced County, Parks and Rec. I think he's part of the GSD team, Team GSD. If you guys don't know what that is, that's the Get Stuff Done team. And that's kind of how I approach stuff at the county level is, you know, I like to say that it's very rare that you can speed up the slow wheels of government, but my job every day is to go in there to make sure that I'm not the reason that they turn any slower. So go ahead, Judy.
So a comment from Patricia McCoy. I live in Las Banas, but I want to say that I love the idea of an outdoor stage at a park. Would love that idea for the park in Las Banas. Also love all libraries and would love to see them expanded. Great idea.
And Patty, thank you. Patricia, thank you for those comments. And it's kind of look, it's a unique park in that Dos Palaces Park, it's in the county. It's a county park, but it's right at their city limits. And finding ways to, you know, make it useful. If you're going to spend this kind of money, the one thing you don't want to see is something that just sits there. And I think with all these little added amenities, I really think that it makes it where it's kind of almost like a little staycation. You go out and if you have an outdoor theater, it just opens it up to just a whole host of opportunities that can be done out there. So Patty, Brian, thank you guys for all the hard work that you're doing on this, and we'll keep pushing forward. So Michael, specifically to your question on Santanella, yes, I am very well aware that there is no park in Santanella. What I can share with you is that yes, it's taking too long, but we are at a point right now where staff has been given authorization to seek a certain parcel of property that's in Santanella in order to move forward with getting Santanella the park that it deserves. It's still something that doesn't happen overnight, but we are moving forward with it. I can't necessarily say how much has been allocated because that kind of, you know, goes into negotiations and closed session stuff, but funds have been allocated to move forward with that. And Michael, remember Patty Darcetti, because Patty's probably going to be the one that it will be helping us to write grants in order to do something unique and individual there in Santanella. Go ahead, Judy.
Gabriella, as a comment, in Santanella Mobile Home Park, it is urgent to build a park. The kids that live in the mobile homes area do not have enough space to recreate themselves. Because of that, they have to play in the streets and put at risk their lives.
And I agree with you. And Gabriella, I know that we've talked before, I believe at one of the meetings that I've been out there in Santanella, and I agree with you. I maybe for the benefit of everybody that hasn't heard this story, when I was out campaigning and I was it's one precinct in Santanella. I was out there walking that precinct and I came across a gentleman and he was walking and his daughter was riding her bike. And so, you know, obviously you're out there to talk to folks. So I stopped and talked to him and he told me he found a house in Santanella, this brand new, beautiful home he bought. He moved somewhere from the Bay Area, moves in and gets kind of settled. And his daughter says, "Hey, Dad, you know, let's go find the park." And they went driving around and they couldn't find a park. And that was when I was made aware that there wasn't a park in Santanella. And I just think that's unacceptable. And I can't make stuff happen overnight, but you can rest assured that I am putting maximum pressure everywhere I can, to the point of calling property owners by myself, using some contacts that I have at the state to get a hold of a person in order to try to move forward with and hopefully report something, you know, I'm not going to say the near future, but in the not too distant future on plans for Santanella.
And Michael said, "Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Hopefully sooner than later. How can I contact Pat? How can I contact Patty?"
Patty?
Hi. I am on Facebook, PATTI, or you can reach me on my county email. It's Patrice, PATRICE .Darcetti, DOSSETTI @countyofmerced.com. Or I think you can also go through Supervisor Silveira and he would forward me your email, I believe.
So
Absolutely.
Michael, I'm going to jump in here. I will make sure you get Patty's email address. I'll just email it to you from
Yeah, that'll work.
Rodney.
Perfect. Thank you.
That'd be great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Perfect. So, and then I wanted to just
Thank you, Patty.
to touch back on when Patty mentioned earlier about those the covered, oh God, the shade structures over the picnic tables. I was talking with Brian the other day, and I thought we came up with a really great idea. Is we have not just the park in Dos Pastos, we have parks all over the county, and trying to just be smart with our money and design one picnic shelter and come up with a way so that we're not having to go and re-engineer it every time. And that way we could duplicate that, because there's other parks that need those same things. So I think, again, another way that we're trying to make our dollars stretch further. There's never enough money to go around. That's the one thing that you learn in this job, that there's never enough. And I like to joke that Supervisor O'Banion, when he was here, he never showed me where the money tree that was buried there behind the county building. I can't find that yet. So anyhow, okay, if there's no other questions on the parks, I'm going to, there's one that came in right there.
Teresa Ramos, Santanella, for the past 55 years, we have provided past county departments where provided petitions and amounts of revenues we provided to the county, including yourself. What was the process to select what community plans for senior community center and park?
I'm not going to say that there was a specific plan. It just happened. If you heard me earlier, Patricia, it was something where we talked about there being two needs, and I'm going to give Patty credit in talking about, well, whoa, that really makes sense when you're applying specifically for those Prop 68 grants. It's not something that I think that there was like a list or a checklist that said, oh, if you meet this criteria. So I remember you guys sending that list, and obviously, yes, there has been some park fees collected in the Santanella area, and those are obviously the fees that we're going to be looking to use to buy a piece of property, because that's one other thing I want to share with you. When you go out for these grants, and I talked about how competitive they are, one of the big key things is if the county or the city that's applying already owns the property. If you don't own the property, it puts you at a disadvantage to other agencies that own the property. And so, like I said, I can't fix all the things that were maybe not done in the past. My goal is as moving forward, when I see that there's a problem, do everything that I can to correct it. So, okay. All right, I'm going to move now. We're going to talk about budget, okay? And I got kind of a budget snapshot, and what I will tell you is I've been here now. This is my second budget. I understand the budget a little bit more than I did last time, but you can see there, our budget is somewhere around, I'm going to call it about 3 inches thick. It is very complicated, but what I can share with you is some numbers. And so this year we passed a $726.6 million final budget. We just passed that on Tuesday. And our proposed budget, which we passed in June to start the fiscal year July 1, was $684 million. So that's quite a big increase from where we started as a proposed budget to where we ended up as a final budget. Where a lot of that money came in was due to COVID. There was CARES Act dollars that came in. A lot of our health and human service agencies, which are the HSA, which is your health services agency, your BHRS, which is behavioral health and recovery services, and public health. Those all fall under that health and human services. And of that, 49% of our overall budget went to health and human services. Then we talk about municipal and countywide services. That accounted for 21%. Local public safety and the justice system. So that includes sheriffs, DA, probation, public defender. I know I'm missing one more in there, but that accounted for I'll put some dollars with that. That accounted for 17% or $122 million of our budget. Supportive services is kind of like the catch-all that they don't fall in those other three categories. It falls in the kind of the supportive services category, and that was $95.2 million. And within that, one specific thing that I kind of wanted to mention is that's where our capital improvement dollars are spent. And so, when you talk about capital improvements, even through COVID, this county has a commitment to our veterans halls, the county-owned facilities. We are still in the process of doing ADA upgrades to those facilities, and COVID hit, and we really it's a pandemic-induced downturn on our economy, and we really don't know what the long-term effects of it are going to be. So we try to be cautious, but at the same time realizing that these things still need to be fixed, and so we still continue to keep the commitments to fixing those things. Just to put it in perspective, last year on public safety, we spent $73.2 million. 75.4. This year we're up to 77.9 million. This is the net county cost of these things. And when I talk about net county cost, a lot of our money, of that $726 million budget that we passed, of that roughly only of about 150 million of it is actually local revenues, meaning those revenues come into the county, and those are the county's revenues to, right? We don't really have discretion in the sense of that we have commitments with that money, but we have to, those are monies that come in from our share of sales tax, our share of property tax, our share of different fees that are collected throughout the county. And so where the rest of that money comes from, that's all state and federal money that comes into our county that is mandated. It has restrictions. You can only spend it on X. So it is a big number. It's a huge number, but a lot of it, before we ever even get a stab at it, is already spent. So I'll stop right there. I know that's a lot of numbers. I know we got some questions. So Judy, fire away.
Justin is asking, is the budget based on future projections of expected tax revenue? If so, is the budget taking into account the economic effects of COVID-19?
The answer to that is it's not that clear, Justin. It is some of it is based upon projections. Some of it is based upon the state, and the way that they do it is they give you, like, what you're going to get. What it's based on a percentage of population, whatever their formula is. So and they're mandated by law. Some of these programs that they're X amount of dollars, realignment dollars will go to this. So it's really a mixed bag. I know, like at the city level, when I was on city council, those numbers were based upon what you projected the next year's revenues were going to be. The county doesn't work it that way. There are some things that, if we say, for recording fees, when you record something at the county, we make a projection that this is just for illustration's sake. We make a number, we say that we think we're going to generate $300,000 in recording fees for the year. We won't actually know that until the end of the year. So yes, those are based on projections, but a lot of our money that comes into the Health and Human Services, those dollars we know what the allocation is, and that's why it takes us so long to go from a proposed budget in June to a final budget in basically, the end of September, prior to October 1st, is because we're waiting to get what those allocations are going to be from the state.
Excellent. And then Tony also has a comment. Sorry to go back to COVID. The COVID grant money is a nice Band-Aid, but not much good when your patient has a broken arm. The real answer is to open businesses in Merced County. Tony,
I completely understand your frustration. And if it was up to me, I would probably do things a little bit differently. But we live in our system of government is heavily reliant upon state and federal funding. And like it or not like it, I don't get to make decisions in a vacuum. I have to look at the whole county, our whole budget. And when I talked about Health and Human Services, that being $353.6 million of our budget, those are services that constituents in my district and all the districts in the county rely on. And this year, the state legislature, when they passed their budget, put rules in there that, and this again, here's another number for illustration's sake. If we have a program that costs $12 million a year to run, in normal times, we would get our $12 million allocation in around July the 1st, and we would operate that program throughout the year with that money. This year, the state legislature said, we will allocate you your one, they use 12 million for even number's sake, so that's $1 million a month. This year, they allocate our money $1 million a month at a time, right? And then what happens is, the caveat is if you're not following the state's guidance, the state public health's guidance, if you're out of compliance with it, I have a mosquito in here, I'm sorry, they'll withhold your funding. We do have a $31 million reserve in Merced County, $31.1 million reserve. Those are services that people rely on, that they need, especially the most vulnerable among us. When you talk about those programs taking up $353.6 million with a $31 million reserve, even if we said, okay, we're going to do what we want to do here, it doesn't take us very long to run out of money when you have $31 million in reserve. So I know that's kind of a long way of getting there, but I do agree. I question myself sometimes, what are we really doing at the state level? And I do want to make sure that we're protecting people, but at the same time, we have businesses. I just saw tonight on the news, and I know that we're not New York City, but they're estimating that 1/3 to half of all restaurants and bars in New York City will not recover from this. They will never reopen their doors. That's a reality. And so what I can tell you is play the cards that are dealt to you right now is, to stay safe, make sure you're socially distancing, wear your mask. Like, for me, a mask, look, you're not cutting off my finger. It's not my favorite thing to do, but at this point, I'm used to it. I am sure like a lot of you, we have them I have one in my truck. I got one in my office. I got one in my pot. Let's do what we got to do. Okay, I'm sorry. I know we got peak time here, Judy. Go ahead.
Teresa wanted to comment. We want to work together in having developers include a park and land. How much funds are being set aside for unincorporated communities such as recreational programs for children, youth at risk, and gang intervention programs, especially in Santa Ynez?
So I don't have an answer for you on that right there, but that is another one that I'll have Darcy write down, and I'll have to get back to you. I know that we have, specifically when it comes to building parks, I think that Santa Ynez got a kind of the short end of the stick when the developer, the way that I understand it, was supposed to build a park, and then that's when we had the downturn in the Great Recession, and they quit building out there, and then everything kind of died. I think that we've learned some lessons there, and moving forward, we extended a map for a development there in Santa Ynez on the east side of 33, and had really good conversations with those developers that talked about that this isn't going to be a situation where you're going to build out the whole development and then build a park at the end, that there would be triggers along the way when you're doing the first phase of the development, when you hit, and it's not I don't want to misquote the number, but it's not a very high threshold of homes built, they have to build the park.
Gabriella would like to also add from her previous comment that in the mobile homes, we do not count with a recycle system and not even a crosswalk to walk without any risk to the restaurants that are in front of the mobile home park.
And I know that we've talked about that before. As a matter of fact, I just was on the phone earlier today with Stacy Guzman, who's the MCAG director. We have a new District 10 Caltrans director, and I've shared with him those very concerns that you guys brought to me at a community meeting that I had out there of trying to figure out some solutions to the turn lane there at Centinela for the folks that have to come from the mobile home park onto 33 to make a right-hand turn on a Centinela Boulevard to be able to take kids to school. And obviously with COVID, you're not going right now, but and I'll share some frustrations with you that they went out there and did a study or survey not too long ago, like as in the last couple weeks. And I reminded them, it really doesn't do no good to go do a survey of people going to school when they're not going to school right now. So, I mean, and so those are the little things that I'm trying to keep working on. So, yes, I know that you guys are not second-class citizens. You deserve the same things that everybody else does. And that's what I'm continuing to advocate for. Go ahead, Judy.
Justin asked, the topic of homelessness has come up a lot lately in Las Vegas. The city explained that homelessness is dealt with by the county. My question is, what part of the county budget funds these services? And if there has been an increase to this budget, and or if there are any new projects or services that are a part of this new county budget?
Yes, yes, and yes. So yes, it's the one thing I want to get away from is starting to make, is this a county problem? Is this a city problem? Because quite honestly, that's a bunch of baloney. It's an everybody problem. And really the only way that we're going to, I've said this one before, you may have heard it. I'm tired of being in the 10-year plan to end homelessness that's always 10 years away from being done. We have to work together. You know, the county, yes, you're right. It's the Health and Human Services part of the budget is where a lot of that funding comes from to fund those programs. Yes, there's additional dollars that are being found to help with it. One of the things that I will share with you that we are doing is it is a navigation center. It's a new approach to helping with the homeless issue. It's where it's not only a shelter, but it also has what they call wraparound services. So wraparound services means a lot of these folks have, listen, a lot of the folks that are homeless, and I don't want to paint it with a broad stroke and say all of them. Some of them are there because of circumstance, things like that. A good percentage of them are there for one of two reasons. They either have addiction issues or they have behavioral health issues, right? So with that is now with this new approach with this navigation center, those services are going to be located at the facility to try to help these folks get back onto a path of sustainability. That's being built in Merced. It was built on where the old juvenile hall site was. We used grant money that our assembly member Adam Gray was able to secure in the budget. That's what helped us build it. Again, us being fiscally responsible, definitely want to thank our public works folks, and we saved $750,000 right off the top on this facility, because instead of going out and designing a facility that we wanted to call, like we had a one of a kind, we mirrored a sister city down in, I believe is in Southern California, and took their exact blueprints and used them up here for us. And what that did was save us $750,000 in design and architectural fees. So those are the things, that's how we're trying to make this dollars stretch further. We have, Patty Darcetti, I'm going to ask you to help me because their name escapes me. Who is the group that is the nonprofit that's running it?
Rescue Mission.
The Rescue Mission, thank you. Rescue Mission are going to be the folks that's administering it, because I'm a big believer in sometimes the government needs to get out of the way and let the faith-based groups, the nonprofits, let them run these things. They can run them more efficient than government can. And so it is at least an attempt to do something different than what we've been doing. But again, to just highlight, yes, there's additional dollars being spent. A lot of it comes out of the Health and Human Services side of the budget. And this isn't just a city problem. This is an everybody problem. And the only way that we're going to get solutions is that we are working together. And I mean, I'm not just talking the cities and the counties. We have to work with our partners at the state and the federal level too, because they make decisions up in Sacramento, and we get to deal with the consequences down here in our county and our cities. So they have to be a partner in fixing them.
Justin would agree with you. It's not just a county problem. I'm tired of our city government passing the buck to the county Thanks for taking my questions.
Perfect. Thank you, Justin. All right, I'm going to move on then. Was there any other ones?
Nope.
Okay, and I'm trying to be cautious of time. I told you guys I can talk quite a bit. So I am going to jump up to water reliability. I know I have some folks on here from Dos Palace. I want to kind of share with you where we're at, what's going on. So you guys are currently under a boil notice. Your water is being shut off from 10 p.m. till 5 a.m. in the morning. The first thing I want to say is I know that the city can always do a better job of communicating what's going out to you folks. They are working tirelessly to try to correct the problems. They're not just sitting there and doing nothing. And really, the decision that was made to shut the water off at night, it basically was to be able to make sure that you have some water, because the repairs that need to be done on what I'm going to call as a failing system, those repairs, if they don't slow this thing down, you're going to have catastrophic failure, and you're going to have no water, and none of us want to see that. And listen, I don't skate responsibility. It does fall within my district. It is within the city limits of Dos Palace, so it is within their purview. They're the decision makers on it. But what I have committed to them and to my constituents is the fact that the best thing that I can do is advocate for you. I have my assembly member's cell phone number. I have my congressman's cell phone number. And for the most part, those two will always take my call. Our state senator, I have her staff's number, and Diana will take my call. And because really, it's the help of the state and the federal government that are going to get this new plant built. The plans are moving forward with that. They just can't happen fast enough. 8 to 10 months is what some might think that it's going to take to get it built. I think that's probably a little bit, and this is coming from the guy that wants to keep things moving, get stuff done. I think that's probably an unrealistic timeline. I think that it's probably looking like more from a year to 18 months. And what I worry about is the system in Dos Palace is not going to last for a year to 18 months. It was built in 1969. It's a single system, meaning that's the only thing that filters the water in Dos Palace. And if you have problems that you have to shut it down, that means you don't have no water. So the city manager is currently working with the city engineer on it to find a temporary treatment system so that they can make those repairs. This, and again, working with the state and federal partners in order to try to keep those folks engaged. I committed that whenever I talk to them, after we get done with the hi hellos, the next question out of my mouth is, what are you guys doing to keep the pressure on getting this water system fixed in Dos Palace? It just blows me away that we're in 2020 and you have a town of 6,000 people and they don't have, at this point, they don't have a reliable water source for the most basic necessity. I don't care what status you are in life, the basic necessity that every one of us needs is water. And so it frustrates me, as well as the city council in Dos Palace, as well as city manager and management over there. But what I can commit to is that we will keep working tirelessly every day. And I do want to give a special thanks to Darcy, that's her world when she's not here helping me. She's in the water world. And she's been a tremendous asset in trying to help us figure out resources and next steps on the water plant in Dos Palace. So are there any specific questions on that, Judy?
No, Alex just mentioned that there are 2 bridge houses in Las Vegas that house homeless individuals. The city is actively involved in homelessness issues. That was the only other question we had here.
Alex, thank you. And I didn't mean that specifically to any one person in the city or city manager, but it's people just assume that it's one person's problem or another person's problem. And they are actively, I did forget about the bridge housing. There's another one where it's, there's folks that are homeless that if they come out of the hospital, they have to, so if you go to the hospital and let's say that you got pneumonia and you're well enough to go home and finish recouping, but you're not well enough to go live out on the street and recoup. Well, there's laws that were passed in California that say that the hospital can't release you. So with partnership with the city, with the rescue mission, with the hospital, they've made beds available for those folks for them to at least allow them to continue to recuperate. And then they're not in a hospital bed that could be used for somebody that has a more serious illness. So Alex, thank you for your comments on that. Any other ones, Judy?
Nope, that's it for now.
Okay, I want to move on to public safety update. You know, I had a specific question earlier that came in prior to, and I wrote it down, is, yeah, I lost my page. Darcy, would you read that question to me? I lost my page.
Yep, hold on 1 second and I'll pull it up for you, Scotty. Hold on. Technical difficulties, stand
Yeah.
by.
Okay, well, as Judy or Darcy, when you're ready, I will, you good?
I'm good.
Okay.
Number one priority should be citizen safety. What are you doing about gangs, graffiti by gangs, and the homeless vagrants camping out all over our city?
So specifically, you know, I talked a little bit about some of the stuff that we're doing with the homeless, and trying to help those folks find some more sustainability or stability in their lives. You know, on the gang stuff, I know that the sheriff for Merced County has a great relationship with all the police chiefs in the cities. You know, I don't know, I can't sit here and recite off the top of my head the different task force, but that they all work together on. I think that, you know, it's of high priority. You know, I'm proud to say, at least at the county level, our sheriff is one of the only sheriffs in the state of California who has all of his positions that are funded with somebody in them, and actually has a waiting list for folks that want to come to work. I think it's a culture thing. And, you know, and the sheriff is committed to really the boots on the ground, the folks that are out there that are doing the daily patrols. And I get it. There's not enough resources to have. In a perfect world, you'd have a deputy, you know, every couple blocks, or in the city's cases, you know, a police officer every couple blocks. But I think that we have better coverage now in Merced County than we've ever had before. And I think that really a lot of it goes, it's credit to the sheriff, as well as the police chiefs, because they have great working relationships that if any one of them's ever in need, it's you know, it's a radio call away and everybody's coming to help out. And I know that doesn't specifically answer the question. I agree it's a priority. I know that we're doing, you know, we're helping out in any way we can. These task force specifically is when you get these spikes in gang activity, they will come in. They, you know, the local guys, the PD guys, whether it's Dos Palos, Las Banas, they're relaying this information to the sheriff. The sheriff's star team comes in and they'll do raids. They do targeted come in and try to disrupt the behavior of the bad guys. So it's being done. We're committed to in our budget. You know, I mean, and the sheriff took, you know, with COVID, everybody had to do some cuts. The sheriff actually cut some administrative people so that he made sure he had enough money for that he wasn't going to lose any deputies on the street.
Walt wants to know if some of those overflow applicants can be sent to Las Banas.
I'm sure we could have a conversation with Chief Reezy and the city manager on how they would want to approach that. But it's a great question. Great comment, Walt. Okay. You know, again, public safety still remains a priority. Our fire service, our guys, you know, we obviously at the county level, we contract with CAL FIRE. Man, if I could ask you to do one thing, say a little prayer for those folks tonight, because they have been going nonstop. And I see there's a question there from Teresa, and we'll get back to it, Teresa. These guys have been, because they work for CAL FIRE, these guys are on incident management teams. They're being called all up and down the state. And even the Las Banas City guys, I just saw on Facebook that they just came back from one of those fires. It's crazy. We've burnt, I think I heard the number, 25 times more this year in California than in a normal year. 25 times more acres of burnt. And it seems like just when they get a break, and you guys live here in my district, you know, you've seen what the smoke's been like outside. Seems like just when it clears out, boom, now all these fires break out up north. So say a little prayer for those guys, but you know, we're continuing to support the fire service in making sure that they have good equipment, that reliable equipment. We have a great equipment replacement program in the county that you know, we didn't make any changes to it. Fire trucks that were scheduled to be replaced are going to be replaced. It's important that we give those folks the tools that they need to be successful. And that's kind of where I stand with our sheriff and our fire chief. I do have a little background as being a volunteer fireman for a while, but I listen to those folks. They're the experts in the area. And if they tell me that's what they need within reason, I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that they have those tools. Okay.
If Elsa, can you go ahead and translate the next question from Teresa? And then once Scott answers it, if you can translate his answer so that we can make sure that's clear. You need to go off of mute.
There you go.
Let
Perfect.
me find her question.
It's from Teresa Ramos.
I see it in English.
At the bottom it's in Spanish.
Okay. Encuestas or surveys. Let's see. She's saying, due to COVID-19, surveying gives a false results when we are in shelter in place state order. What was the methodology for future surveys, all in Spanish or for the Spanish-speaking community?
So I guess I don't necessarily, is she asking specifically about, or is she asking about a specific situation where they weren't given results in Spanish, or just more broadly?
I can ask her.
Please.
Esta pregunta es para Teresa Ramos. ¿Está usted, la pregunta que está haciendo es específicamente para personas que están en estos shelters, o no le entendemos la pregunta exactamente? No se oye nada.
You can unmute, Teresa.
Hola, gracias. Le quería hacer la pregunta. Digo que las encuestas son de la comunidad latina y como hablo español, yo quiero saber si van a hacer las encuestas en español para la comunidad, no nomás las encuestas por mientras, pero en el futuro. So, queremos la información para los que hablamos solamente un idioma en español y que vamos a poder dar nuestras respuestas y nuestras opiniones en esas encuestas. Gracias.
¿Y las encuestas de que habla son sobre todo lo que ha mencionado hoy? ¿O algo específico? ¿Sí?
No. Y no más cuando estamos teniendo las reuniones de la comunidad, como esta noche, tenemos los intérpretes y gracias por traducir, pero quiero saber que si es posible de tenerla cuando van a tener encuestas que en el futuro o cualquier cosa que van a tener en el condado que van a ser traducidos. Eso es lo que es mi pregunta.
Oh, muy bien. Gracias. Her question is for the future, anytime that you're going to put out surveys, if you could please put them out in Spanish as well for the Spanish-speaking community, or like, for example, tonight's meeting, they would appreciate having it translated into Spanish. And just going forward, they just want you to know that that would be a big help for the Spanish-speaking community.
And we will have this translated. It'll probably take a day or so, but we have intended on translating this for us as well. This script will be.
Okay. So dijo la señora que sí van a traducir esta reunión. En unos 2 días le van a tener todo escrito en español para que lo pueda leer.
Perfect. And then Elsa, if you could just add one more thing for me is that, you know, I know that like when the county did the kind of, I'm going to call them the county sponsored town halls, they had the technology there where, you know, they had a Spanish translator and you could get the earphone so you could be hearing it in, you know, in real time in Spanish. I'm sorry that I'm not that technologically advanced and don't know how that we would facilitate that right here, but definitely I appreciate the comments and promise that we will try to do a better job next time.
Okay. Dijo el señor que en otras reuniones del condado han tenido la posibilidad de tener a una persona traduciendo al instante usando audífonos, pero él no tiene él no tiene el poder para hacer eso, pero va a tratar en el futuro de hacer mejor y le da las gracias por sus comentarios.
Okay.
And
Thank you.
then Kathy Ballard would like, her husband asked her that she's using Walt's computer, so we've been calling her Walt all night long, but it's
Okay.
actually Kathy pretending to be Walt or one way or the other. So she's
Well, you know,
fine.
now that she says that, I should have known better because Walt's typically not a person that would be on the calls or at the meeting. So Kathy, I am sorry. Okay, any other questions?
Not at this time.
Okay, we did public safety. I want to talk a little bit about the spring fair. And I know we still got about 24 more minutes. So spring fair, I know this doesn't affect everybody, but just kind of want to put this information out there. You know, our plan at this point is, you know, we obviously didn't have a 2020 fair. COVID hit because of the public health crisis. It was canceled. I can't sit here and tell you with 100% without a doubt that we will have a fair in 2021. But what I can tell you is that we are planning on having a fair in 2021. We're going to continue to make plans for that. I know that there was some rumors going around that that the fair was canceled and that we weren't going to have the fair. But I know that the fair board, those folks are all appointed by the County Board of Supervisors. I know the CEO, Jim Brown, and staff. We are all committed to having a 2020 fair so long as public health and the health crisis allows us to have it. And we will continue to make announcements as we get closer, because none of us really know. That's the bottom line. But I just want to go on record as saying that we have every intentions of having our spring fair. That's something that's been going on for over 125 years. First time that we didn't have it was this year. And I hope that that's the last time that we don't have it, because it's important to a lot of people. And I really think with everybody being kind of locked up and not being able to go anywhere, something that we could have that benefits us locally, not only for our mental sanity, but also our just wanting to get out of the house and help out our community. I think it would be well timed if we were able to have that. So just that's quick little update there. And then I just want to touch on, Dr. Munoz is the new chancellor for UC Merced. I know that's on the other side of the county, but ultimately it is part of our county. I just wanted to share that I did, even with COVID, he was appointed not too long ago, and his office reached out to me, and we actually had a one-on-one meeting. And I'm excited. I invited him to come out to Wool Growers in Las Banas and come and experience of some of what we have to offer on the west side. And he sent me a little note back and is excited for the opportunity and wants to get to know the west side and get to know the county that the state's newest UC is in Merced County, and as the chancellor, he wants to get to know the county that it's in. So I'm excited about the opportunities that we have moving forward with the new UC chancellor. And then, yep, go ahead.
So Scotty, I have two questions before you get to your final topic. One, I'm just going to read it. It says, good morning, Scotty. I hope this finds you and your family well. Just trying to get some support on a plan to allow visitors into assisted living facilities. My mother is at New Bethany. I believe it is time to start talking about allowing visitors with restrictions to visit. Just wondering if that is on the agenda. I understand the danger, however, with precautions, it would be no different than the workers coming and going in daily into the facility. I would support screening, mask, distance enforcement, etc. The mental health of all involvement is also important. Thank you for bringing this consideration to light.
All right, and so that is a question because I knew, and I do appreciate if we do this in the future, when you sign up, if you know a specific question you want asked, if you send it to us ahead of time, it gives me a little bit of time to, if I don't know the answer off the top of my head, do a little bit of research and be able to get you a specific answer. So as I was on my call with the public health director earlier today, I specifically asked her what her thoughts were on when this would be able to happen. And something that she shared with me that I didn't know before is that these skilled nursing facilities are, it's under federal order that that they kind of reside under, and these rules that we're facing with having them shut down is coming from the federal government, and the federal government doesn't look at it on a state-by-state basis. They look at it countrywide. And right now, currently, again, on the East Coast, they're experiencing some upticks in numbers in these skilled nursing facilities. So the ugly answer that, and I hate to have to be the bearer of the bad news, is that no, they're not considering it. And basically, Dr. Mananjo told me that because the folks in these skilled nursing facilities are the most vulnerable group, most vulnerable population, it's probably going to be one of the last sectors to be able to open back up. And I feel for you. I do feel that something that is going to linger on for a long time is the mental health aspects of this coronavirus, what this has done to people mentally, and especially our parents and grandparents who are being told that you can't hug and kiss and love on your grandkids and your kids. And I all I can tell you, Jan, is that I feel for you. I really truly do feel for you, and I wish that I had better news to give to you.
Walt / Kathy, can they do visits like we are doing on Zoom? If there's a cost, can that be brought to the community? I would be willing to help, not with technology, but in other ways.
And I do listen. I think that what you are getting is the nurses, they see it every day, what's going on, and they're, I've seen stories on the news where, Kathy, where they are, they're taking their own phone and they're Zooming with, and I know a good friend of mine, that's how he communicates with his mom, right? Is they do it over Zoom. The nurses they get a time together and they're able to talk. But it's great. And if you got nothing, that's better than nothing, but it still doesn't replace the good old hug,
Another question from Jean. Does Scott have solutions to the issue of people dumping their mattresses, old gym equipment, tires, etc., along the roads outside of the city limits? If he doesn't have any ideas, perhaps they can give some suggestions at the next town hall meeting.
Perfect, Jean. Thank you for the question. And listen, yes, I'm working on a potential solution. Is it the cure-all be-all? No, but this is something that it kind of got slowed down with COVID. Well, we've seen an uptick in it. What I'm going to tell you is that in the spring, because of COVID, all the spring cleanup days were canceled around the county, and I've seen an uptick in the amount of, because I drive back and forth to Merced 4 or 5 days a week. And I take back roads, and it is something that it's driving me crazy. I'm the one that's calling Public Works and saying, hey, we have an illegal dump out here. So a couple things I want to tell you. We just passed and Patty, I want to give Patty credit again. We applied for a Cdbg grant, which is going to it's going to help us hire some additional code enforcement officers. So that doesn't necessarily fix the ones that are illegally dumping, but it does help us go after the ones that are just letting their yards become dump grounds. So that is one piece of it. The other part is working with county council to come up with a new ordinance that basically says that if we find an illegal dump, if we can find 2 pieces of identifying information, and so that's very, if you have a piece of mail and a pill bottle that has the same person's name with the same address, it is presumed that is your garbage, and we will go after you. We will go after you with administrative penalties, And I'm sorry, this is something where I draw the line is there's no reason for people to just throw their trash on, on the side of the road of a mattress, whatever. We have these cleanup days, but some people are impatient and don't want to wait in line, so they're going to go dump it on the side of the road. To me, that's unacceptable. And I think that those folks that are doing that need to be held accountable. And so that should be coming. It's never soon enough, but because budget, because of COVID, everything kind of took a little bit longer time track than I would have liked. But within the next month or so, that ordinance should be coming to the Board of Supervisors for potential ratification.
And Carolina would like to add to the question saying, please consider the rivers as they have a lot of trash as well.
Absolutely. It's all part of it because those are our responsibility. And yeah, it just, I know a year or so ago, we spent quite a bit of money just going through and having to clean out. I remember somebody that was actually working on the crew actually like sent a message on Facebook out and is like, hey, what do you want? He had cards, he had a boat, he had tires, washers, dryers. People are just dumping this stuff in the creek. So go ahead.
I just wanted to add a Cdbg grant is a California Development Block Grant. So you're speaking in acronyms and not everybody knows what it is. So I'm just going to throw it under the bus there.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And that's something that I used to rail against when I was first got on city council, because that's what we do in government is speak in acronyms, and I didn't understand any of them. But the longer you've been around it, they just roll off the tongue. And so I do apologize for not being more clear with that. So thank you for the correction there. Okay. Jean, does that answer your question? And the other part is absolutely, I plan on doing these again. I think this is the way that I can communicate with you. And I do want to say thank you to everybody that's hanging in there. It's 8:17 now, but yeah, these are things, submit the questions, solutions. I'm always looking for solutions because this is kind of how I roll. It's really easy to complain about everything that you think that the county's doing wrong, the city's doing wrong, that I'm doing wrong. But when you not only do you call me with your concern or complaint or whatever you want to call it, but you've actually taken the time to come up with, hey, this is a possible solution to that. I mean, I'm just going to tell you, it makes me take you a little more serious because I listen, in this line of work, I know I signed up for this and I appreciate it and I love being a part of the process, but I get complaints every day, and it is the ones that actually take the time to come up with possible solutions. Man, it tells me that you're a little bit more serious than somebody that, because there are people out there that love to complain just for the sake of complaining. Okay.
So I have one other gentleman who submitted, Scott, it's time to push back on the lockdown. There is no justification for it. Please take a look. He submitted some videos for you. They will give you factual, logical, even godly information to take a stand. Thanks.
No, and I appreciate the comments, and to a certain extent, I agree with you that not all of this stuff makes sense. Again, I mentioned it earlier. I don't get to look at it as one individual item in a silo. I'm trying to look out for the health and welfare and safety of all of my citizens, of all of my 56,000 bosses, and the decisions aren't that easy. You can get 10 people in a room and they're not going to agree on how to do something. Imagine when you're trying to represent 56,000 people. And at the end of the day, I think that sometimes it's even harder to represent the ones that didn't vote for you, because if you voted for somebody, you said, well, I kind of agree with their way of thinking. I kind of like the direction they're going, but I take seriously the fact that I represent the ones that didn't vote for me too. I'm still their representative. And if they have a problem, they call me. And so I'm trying to find that middle ground. And I'm not typically a person that likes to ride the fence. I usually have opinions and I'm not afraid to share them. And sometimes if you guys follow me on social media, that gets me in trouble. But in this situation, I'm trying to do what's best for everybody. Go ahead, Judy.
Kathy has a question about even having prisoners build the jail.
Repeat that, I'm sorry.
Even having prisoners build the jail.
Listen, I don't think that anything's off the table. I think that that's when we ask for ideas.
Yep.
I don't want to get too philosophical. and my beliefs, but you know, I believe that typically when you go to prison, you go to prison for a reason, and it's usually not a good reason. And I don't think that it should be so easy that you want to come back. So I'll leave it at that.
That's all the questions we have, Scotty. So if you want to go on to your last topic.
Just the kind of the last thing that it's in a, you guys might not be familiar with it. Some of you may. It's Castle Air Force Base. You know, and I don't know the exact year, but the Castle Air Force Base used to be a military base for the federal government. And in the late 80s, early 90s, the federal government closed that base down, and Merced County inherited that property. And we've been, you know, over the years plugging away and trying to come up with new uses for it. One of the cool things that we do have out there is Waymo, which is Google's driverless cars. They have an actual test facility out there at Castle. And one of the things that it's the Mid-California International Trade District. And one of the things that we are trying to do is really capitalize on this up and coming emerging market, which is driverless cars, and building a facility that Waymo has their facility that they rent, and that's theirs for their sole use only. But there's a lot more of name brand car companies, you know, the Mercedes of the world and Cadillac and you name them, that are looking for facilities to test their cars. And we're in the middle of putting together a plan to have somebody come in and operate basically a driverless car test facility. And so it's something cool and different that we have going on out there. I know I asked our Community and Economic Development Director, Mark Hendrickson, to share a couple of ideas with me. But, you know, Merced County is presently developing, I told you, the 300-acre autonomous, I call them driverless cars. They're technically called the autonomous vehicles testing proving ground at Castle. We've, you know, the board is, just like I said, recently taken steps to try to bring on a consultant that is going to find out the feasibility of it, what are the economics of it, how does it make us money, and here again, get the county out of the business of trying to run the government or run this facility, and let the private sector do it, because I do believe that the private sector can run it more efficiently. And so just a few things that we got going on out there. I know I'm missing some of them, but I do want to give a little bit of time for some last minute questions.
And Scotty, so you know, we put your Scotty Silveira email out there, supervisor@scottysilveira.com. So if you think of a question, or we were Johnny on the spot and missed your question, if they can email it to you, then we'll get them an answer.
Perfect. So does anybody have any final questions? I'll let you guys, we might let you guys out of class a little bit early if you don't have any questions for me. So again, you know, if you guys, if you don't mind, you know, give us some feedback. This is our first one that we're doing. Again, Elsa, I want to thank you for being here. Darcy, Judy, for helping put this deal together. Patty, thank you for being here and sharing some of the exciting news that we're doing, that we got going on in Dos Palace. Again, all of you, thank you for being here. Thank you for being, I've always prided myself on is trying to make sure that I get back to folks and listen to what they have to say. And I try not to sell you a bill of goods. I try to tell you what's within my authority that I can do, what are things that I got to go and advocate for, and not overpromise and underdeliver. But I can't do that without you folks. So I do really appreciate everybody taking time on their Thursday night and being with me. And I will try to, Darcy and Judy will keep me on task, and we will get another one of these scheduled so that we can get information out, to get questions answered. And again, I will make the commitment that we'll try to figure out a better solution when it comes to having them translated. So with that, if there are no other further questions, I would adjourn this meeting and dismiss you guys early. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
See you, Alex.